Imagine trusting the very man sworn to keep your family safe, only to discover he was selling your private data to the highest bidder, a decorated detective, a husband, a father, and in secret, the architect of one of the most damaging cybercrime rings in his state. How did a protector become a predator? Stay with me. This story will shake your faith in the badge. Before we dive in, comment below where you're watching from and subscribe to Bite Crimes. Your support helps us keep bringing you chilling, true crime stories that are both educational and eye-opening. Now sit back, let's begin. For nearly 2 decades, Detective Marcus Hale walked the streets of Baltimore, Maryland, in a crisp blue uniform, later the brown detective's trench coat. At 44, he was widely respected. The cop who remembered people's names, who knelt to talk to kids at crime scenes, who brought groceries to widows in his precinct. Neighbors waved when his patrol car rolled by. Colleagues saw him as steady, even inspiring. To many, Marcus embodied the serve and protect motto. But behind the warm smiles and the calm voice was a man hiding storms. Financial strain started with an ill-timed real estate investment that collapsed during the housing crisis. Medical bills for his aging father mounted. The debt snowballed. And somewhere along that slide, pride gave way to desperation, and desperation to greed. At first, Marcus's misuse of his badge was small and quiet, running license plate checks for friends, looking up sealed records. But then came an introduction to a darknet forum, a place where stolen identities, hacked bank credentials, and ransomware kits change hands like street corner goods. Marcus realized that the very databases he was sworn to safeguard were worth far more than his paycheck. Using a burner laptop at home and sometimes even the precinct secure network after hours, he pulled background files on targets, business owners, lawyers, even retirees. He sold these data dumps to a hacker syndicate operating out of Eastern Europe. When he saw that nothing happened to him after the first few transfers, his caution eroded. The small breach became a river. Soon he wasn't just selling data. He was warning cybercriminals about ongoing police investigations, even giving them tips to slip past detection. The betrayal was staggering. Families who once shook Marcus's hand after he solved the burglary found their own savings drained by identity theft gangs. A small medical billing firm in Baltimore went under after ransomware attackers later traced one of Marcus's darknet contacts, used insider case notes to time their breach. Citizens who had trusted him became victims not of distant hackers, but of their own hometown detective. What are your thoughts so far about Marcus Hale? Was it pure greed or something deeper? Drop your opinions in the comments. We'd love to hear them. Every long-running secret crime has a moment where the mask slips. For Marcus, it was a routine joint cyber task force operation. The FBI and local police were tracking a phishing ring that had targeted a veterans charity. The hackers seemed always one step ahead, wiping servers, dodging raids. An FBI analyst noticed that certain sealed warrants kept getting leaked within hours of being filed. The leak had to be coming from inside law enforcement. Coincidences began to stack up. Hale's cases often went cold just as they were nearing a breakthrough. His name surfaced in the background of at least 3 compromised investigations. His bank records showed modest salary deposits, yet he'd recently paid off his father's expensive medical care in cash. Colleagues later said Marcus had grown quieter over the years. He stopped joining the precinct's Friday night poker games. His marriage grew strained. His teenage daughter described him as there, but not really there. What went on behind his calm facade was a mix of mounting greed and a strange sense of invincibility, a belief that because he was the law, he could always stay a step ahead of it. Psychologists who later studied his case noted something chilling: ethical fading. Step by step, he justified each new breach as just bending the rules, then hurting no one, then deserving a little extra for all the stress. By the time he was tipping off hackers, he had stopped seeing the victims as real people. In 2021, a mid-sized credit union in Maryland suffered a data breach that exposed thousands of members' social security numbers. The hacker group bragged online that they'd had an inside source wearing a badge. The FBI's cyber division traced part of the breach to information that could only have come from law enforcement databases. When they overlaid access logs with duty rosters, one name kept appearing in odd hours: Detective Marcus Hale. A sting operation was quietly approved. Unknown to Marcus, two of his online buyers were now undercover FBI agents. Late one autumn night, Marcus sat alone in his home office, the glow of two monitors reflecting off his weary face. On one screen, a darknet chat scroll with eager buyers. On the other, a classified report he had no legitimate reason to access. He hesitated. For the first time in years, doubt crept in. A simple keystroke would leak yet another ongoing investigation and seal his fate. Somewhere across town, FBI agents watched the same screen activity unfold in real time. At 11:47 p.m., Marcus pressed send. The encrypted file, full of confidential case notes, zipped across the darknet to what he thought was a longtime buyer. Seconds later, a quiet alert chimed in the FBI's cyber war room. The agents had their proof. For weeks they had built his trust under fake usernames, asking for just one more set of files, biding their time until he crossed an undeniable legal line. That night, he did. Minutes later, unmarked SUVs rolled down Marcus's quiet suburban street. The agents' move with precision. Dark jackets marked FBI in bold yellow letters, standard issue vest beneath. They had a warrant, and they had no intention of letting the man with a badge slip away. At 12:15 a.m., Marcus heard the first knock, firm, official. By the time he opened the door, the porch was washed in the red and blue flash of law enforcement lights. Neighbors peeked out of curtains, stunned to see the beloved detective surrounded by agents. Marcus Hale, the lead agent, said evenly, "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit computer fraud, obstruction of justice, and unauthorized disclosure of law enforcement data." His wife stood in the hallway, frozen, one hand over her mouth. His teenage daughter, in pajamas, appeared on the stairs with wide, tearful eyes. Marcus lowered his head as the cuffs clicked around his wrists. Investigators seized every digital device in his home. 2 laptops, 3 cell phones, 2 encrypted drives hidden in a toolbox, and even an old police-issued radio. Forensic analysts discovered years of transactions, chat logs, cryptocurrency transfers, and lists of active investigations he had leaked. One folder was labeled "Do Not Open." Inside were screenshots of families, ordinary citizens whose bank accounts and identities had been stolen. Seeing those images shocked even the seasoned agents. The morning after the arrest, the news spread like wildfire. Residents gathered outside the precinct, some holding handmade signs reading "We trusted you." Others refused to believe it, insisting Marcus had been framed. The local radio host said, voice shaking, "We thought he was one of the good ones. Now we don't know who to trust." Pause here. Viewers, if this were your hometown hero, the cop you waved every morning, how would you feel discovering he betrayed you? Share your thoughts below. We read your comments because your voices matter. Marcus's trial drew national attention. The courtroom overflowed with reporters, former colleagues, and victims who had lost their savings. Prosecutors laid out a devastating timeline. The first stolen data appeared on darknet markets 5 years earlier. The leaks matched access logs from Marcus's precinct login. Transactions linked to his hidden cryptocurrency wallets paid for his father's medical care, luxury electronics, and even a vacation home in Delaware. The defense argued stress, debt, and entrapment, claiming the undercover sting had pushed him over the edge. But the jury saw the pattern of betrayal and the damage it caused. A court-appointed psychologist testified that Marcus suffered from moral disengagement syndrome, gradually detaching his sense of duty from his actions. He convinced himself he was merely leveling the field against a flawed system. In his own statement to court, Marcus finally said, "I started out wanting to do good, but every time I broke a rule and got away with it, it got easier to keep going. I thought I was smarter than the system. I was wrong." The judge's words were sharp and unflinching. "You were entrusted with the power to protect. You abused that power and sold it to criminals. The badge you wore will now be remembered for your betrayal." Marcus Hale was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison without the possibility of early release. For his wife and daughter, the sentence brought no comfort, just a quiet weight of public shame and personal loss. The case prompted sweeping reforms. New monitoring systems for law enforcement database access, regular audits to detect unusual logins, mandatory cyber ethics training for officers. For the public, the story became a sobering reminder that trust is precious and must be earned, not assumed. In the digital age, even protectors can be tempted by the power that information offers. Marcus Hale's story isn't just about one fallen detective. It's about the danger of unchecked access, the lure of easy money, and the way small compromises can snowball into catastrophic betrayal. It's a warning that in a world where data is more valuable than gold, the true crime of the future often hides behind familiar faces. Thank you for staying with us until the end of the story. It's not easy to hear how someone we're taught to trust could cause such harm. But by understanding these stories, we learn how to protect ourselves and demand accountability. If you found this story chilling, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and, most importantly, subscribe to Bite Crimes. Your support keeps us going, bringing you more educational and eye-opening true crime stories that shed light on the hidden threats in our digital world.